Hello, and welcome to the UdderTwaddle podcast, episode 2.
Welcome to number two.
Okay.
Again, I am Cowpatty.
And I am Cowmando.
And welcome back. This is our next venture into our podcast.
Yeah, if this is your first time listening, then just welcome.
Yeah, if it's your first time listening, then you found us quite early, because hopefully we'll get better as we go.
Yes, this will be an evolving podcast. Things may change, format may change. Who knows?
We may change a few things.
It will just evolve as time goes by.
Exactly. Like we all do. We all evolve in some way over time. Was that too philosophical for you? Maybe just a bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid, the whole evolution.
Evolution
discussion.
And, mindfulness and, Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well,
You're going kind of weird today, but hey. Yeah.
It could get a little weird. You never know what's going to happen.
A little weird? Okay. Well, we can handle a little weird.
Just not a lot weird?
Don't go, too far out in left field.
Just don't dive off the deep end, right?
Right.
Speaking of diving, which this will make no sense unless you've seen the movie, we just got back from seeing Bumblebee.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing, but I was like, making a diving comment really wouldn't make a whole lot of sense unless you've seen the movie.
Mm.
But yes, we did go see Bumblebee this morning.
It was actually very good. It was better than I thought it would be.
And the diving reference comes from the main human character, an 18-year-old girl that she used to be on the diving team, and that
it's just part of the story.
Yeah, kind of part of the backstory, with some of her trophies and how she was on the diving team and she gave it up and
we won't go too far into that bit.
It's for this show right now, it's a very obscure reference unless you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
It's not going to make any sense. So, but there it is.
But that's okay. But what we did love about the movie, and I would say this,
I loved a lot about the movie.
Referenced a lot of the original cartoon versions of the characters.
Yes, it did throw back to the original cartoon configurations of the Transformers. It had a lot of the old original characters that looked the way they looked in the original cartoon series.
Because there was some reference to them being on Cybertron.
And some that didn't show up in a lot of the previous Transformers movies. Ironhide looked like he did in the cartoon. Same with Wheeljack and Soundwave, Ravage.
I love Soundwave, and I got really giddy when I saw him. Yes. I remember having that
looked
toy when
just
I was a
like
kid.
him, sounded like him.
Well, no, I correct myself. My brother had the toy, but I loved it.
Original Shockwave, the way he looked, as a toy and in the cartoons. Cliff Jumper.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the original, somewhat of the original look of Starscream.
If you saw the original cartoon,
Thundercracker,
like the movie cartoon,
Transformers the movie,
which
I love very much.
He loves that movie. So you would get all of them. You would be like, okay, that is this person, this person, this one. I think
it brought back a lot of childhood memories from whenever I used to watch the Transformers cartoon. Back in like early 7th grade.
And if you don't know anything about Bumblebee, this movie now is more of a prequel to the other ones, I guess.
Yes.
Because it sort of sets up them leaving Cybertron and Bumblebee going on as like a scout, basically. So he hits Earth and here we go. This is the adventure. And it said it was based in 1987. And the one thing I was discussing with him after the movie, after he left, I said, you know what? I think they went a little too on the nose with the 80s. Because they prominently showed like Mr. T cereal, and I get that they were trying to set the stage, but it looked a little just too pushed in your face.
Too forced. As I tried to explain to her, it was all very common products and TV shows and things during the 80s.
Well, they referenced during Alf.
This time period being prior to widespread, public knowledge of the internet and things like that. Home computers weren't as common as they are today. There were no smartphones.
No, it's
I mean, you got out of school, you went home, you watched afternoon cartoons, or
you did projects,
went outside and got on your bike and, terrorized the neighborhood with your friends and, tried not to get caught being mischievous. Then you headed back home,
Not to completely date ourselves,
around
but
6 o'clock or so, you had your dinner and you sat down in front of the TV, for the evening's entertainment.
And like I said,
back then it was stuff, one of the references in the movie was Alf.
Yes, that's true. And I did have an Alf doll, not to completely date myself, but yes, I was little in the 80s, so you might do the math on that if you want to. But
I was young. I don't think I was ever little.
Well, little is relative.
Yeah, I don't even think I was little when I was born.
Did you come out like a monster?
My poor mother.
Oh, that poor lady.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, it was just, it did have a lot of 80s references to it, but the difference when watching a movie, if you've never grown up in the era, and somebody who has grown up in the era, your brain starts nitpicking things, and I guess I just had that nitpicking thing in the back of my head. Like, I was like, those are really advanced paintball guns for 87 when it just was barely invented back then, and I was like, I might be pushing it.
And like I, tried to explain about that is to explain in the movie, there's a military training exercise.
That's all you gotta say.
At the very beginning of the movie.
And it's
and they're using
paintball
markers. Guns, blasters, whatever. They're
technically
referred to as paintball markers because they're not guns, really.
But it looked like a modern gun, and I want to say
it does, but it was firing paintballs. And being military training sim, they could have had more realistic, looking, paintball markers than what would have been available to the general public.
Again, I think I was nitpicking in my head of that's a little more advanced because paintball wasn't popular until like the 2000s.
Products and technology that the government has had access to long before general civilians had access to.
Yeah.
Astronauts had access to Tang before it became a public, beverage mix.
That's true.
Velcro and things of that nature long before it became publicly available.
There's a lot of 80s references in this movie. Is all I'm just saying. And that's because it's set in that time period.
And I can see where if you didn't grow up in that era and don't really know anything about it, it could seem kind of forced, to set, the time and place. But those of us that did grow up, in the 80s and were old enough to remember stuff in the 80s, that just seemed like common 80s life.
Well, maybe.
But, I'm old, so.
It was just one of those things that stood out.
But it did bring, back a lot of childhood memories, like I said, of.
Oh, that's true.
Of watching, the Transformers cartoons and some of the, 80s stuff, like, you said, the Mr. T cereal and watching Alf. And
I was leaving and I was thinking, I remember watching two shows back to back and I could not remember for the life of me if it was Webster came right before Alf. But it was just, I remember watching two shows together all the time. And the Alf was one of them right next
Alf
to it.
was a popular show. Webster was a popular show back then. Also discussed, like Different Strokes was a very popular show back then, which spun off Facts of Life. That was a really popular show for a lot of years.
That was very popular for a lot of years. I don't think I watched that much TV back in the 80s. I mean, I've seen a few.
Well, I watched a ton of TV back in the 80s. And that's, partially responsible for my half-rotted brain.
Probably because only had like 4 channels back then. And it was only on like antenna that barely picked them up. So
yeah, 3 channels. And, if you wanted to, get really good reception, you had rabbit ears or you attached a wire coat hanger, to the back of the TV.
Basically, yeah.
You were constantly having to get up and adjust, the antenna and twist it over here and point it this direction. Stay there and hold the antenna so that the rest of us can watch the TV. I can finally
see that rerun of Bewitched I've been watching. Yeah, it's like
back when the remote control was getting smacked on the back of the head and told to go change the channel.
That's why kids always sat so close to the TV, because you had to reach up and turn the knob.
Yes.
I mean, that was the reason you sat that close.
You were the remote control.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were a lot of, great TV shows back then. Some stuff that I still love rewatching, over and over, like MASH.
Yeah, we do watch a lot of MASH. And in fact, that's our go-to whenever we play Minecraft.
Yeah, that's our go-to background, sort of passive watching, listening to while we're, playing Minecraft.
How that happened, I don't know. I think we just proposed it one day and we're like, okay, let's go Minecraft and MASH. It's it's our version of Netflix and... No, that's not really a good reference.
No. No, not really.
That's not a good comparison.
No.
No, but that's our... go-to hangout. Let's play some Minecraft.
It's just kind of turned into tradition. We were wanting something just to listen to, sort of in the background while we were running around and building in Minecraft. And
I think
MASH showed up on one of the streams somewhere. I don't remember if it was Netflix or Hulu at the time.
I think it was Netflix. You can watch all of them.
Clicked it and let it go, and just kind of listened to it as we were running around building. And
occasionally will say, "Are you still watching?" Yes. Click.
It's kind of the thing.
Which. Back in the 80s, you only had, like we said, 4 channels. But now I think it's hard to keep up with the amount of TV and stuff available because there's so many outlets.
And so many networks have so many great shows.
Yes.
That, a lot of them are on at, competing time slots, to where you pretty much have to DVR a lot of stuff if you want to watch and keep up with everything.
And if you don't DVR, you end up Huluing, Netflixing, HBOing,
Amazoning. Now you can subscribe to YouTube TV
DC
and have it
has their own thing now.
Have it DVR episodes and stuff for you.
I hear that Disney's trying to do their own channel now, and WB's trying to do their own channel now.
Their own streaming service. CBS has their own. DC now has the DC Universe streaming service.
Oh, and the CBS has like the license on Star Trek, so
CBS has their service.
If you want to watch Trek, we haven't seen the new series yet, but that's on my list. But I still kind of refer back to ever since we subscribed to YouTube TV, that gave us access to just about everything on television at a click. A
lot of stuff,
we're not sponsored or anything by YouTube,
any of these people. At all. Yeah.
We're just talking about what we use, and I just found out that if with YouTube TV, we could get access to BBC America.
Yes,
which we could not do it anywhere else.
Get a lot of our BBC programming back.
Yeah.
Without having to pay for full cable subscription.
Exactly. So, and that's where we get.
Yeah, because we like a lot of the BBC and British shows. We're big, huge Doctor Who fans.
Yes, very much so. He got me hooked on the season. It's not really season 5, really. What is it? It's the new seasons. When Eccleston started it.
Yeah, back in the sort of continuation that started back in 2005.
He watched. What'd you watch? Like the first 2 seasons before I started getting into it. And then
when I started. David Tennant was already the Doctor, and he was on his 2nd season as the Doctor. So, the 2005 season, was Eccleston.
That's what I was thinking of, 2005.
Who did 1 season, and then David Tennant became the Doctor, and he was on for, 4 or 5 seasons?
I would say he's about 5, yeah. I could be wrong.
I had started halfway through and got caught up, and
that's when I went, what are you watching? I want to watch this.
Yeah. And I got her hooked, and she has gone.
Then I started watching all the old stuff, too.
Utterly fanatical ever since.
I'm not a fanatic.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. I just like watching them. And that's another series that I'll just leave on and let it run in the background if I'm playing games or doing something. That
also led us to Torchwood.
Yes.
Which was
Torchwood
great.
was fun. We're both very big on British TV. And I don't know if it's because it's just different from like American TV.
Well,
than otherwise. It's just a nice change of pace.
Well,
to me.
Referencing, back to 80s television, 80s television was real big on the sitcom.
That's true.
There were tons and tons of sitcoms, and they normally ran, we're in the Central Time Zone here in Texas. So the sitcoms would normally run from like 7 to 9.
Yeah.
Half-hour sitcoms, you'd get, 3 or 4, per evening. And then normally your drama shows would be on from like 9 to 10. That's where you would run into stuff like Dallas and Dynasty and Knots Landing and, all of the,
none of the stuff
that I thought was really lame as a kid. That's when that sort of stuff would come on. And TV changed over the years, and now most everything is either, some stupid quote reality show, the Real Housewives of Who Gives a Damn, and
I get enough of reality in reality. I don't need any reality on my TV.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
You get a lot of that stuff and a lot of drama TV now. With a smattering of sitcoms here and there.
And you get the occasional...
some action stuff, like on the CW, you've got the whole Arrowverse, with Arrow and Flash and stuff like that.
You get good adventure and good superhero shows now.
You do.
You get good, you get the very occasional, the good comedy shows. But they don't
get a few really good ones, like The Big Bang Theory. Fantastic and funny as hell.
You don't get, like, the panel shows that you get on BBC.
No, you don't.
Not here.
And that is a big thing on British TV is the panel and or quiz show.
I love those. I just do.
That kind of is what got us started. Aside from Doctor Who,
that's what got us really watching.
That really got us big into British TV, because as we discussed last week, I tend to listen more to audiobooks than reading actual print books, just because of the convenience. But in doing so, I actually read, in print, all of the Harry Potter books.
Me too.
And then
we re-listened
to, the audiobooks of them. The U.S. version of the audiobooks was narrated by Jim Dale.
Love his voice.
Very, very good set of audiobooks. The UK version of the audiobooks are narrated by Stephen Fry.
And I love Stephen Fry.
And I do. I absolutely love Stephen Fry. He is funny. He is brilliantly intelligent.
I love his voice.
Yes.
I love his comedy. I mean, everything that he's done has been really great.
Yes. And because of, liking Stephen Fry, she had stumbled across...
one of my friends at work and a D&D buddy of ours...
a panel show
mentioned QI.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, we've got to find this QI. And at the time, it was on Hulu. I don't know if it still is. But so we immediately went to go look up. And it's a panel quiz show, which is actually, it references real life, amazing science and technology and,
kind of obscure,
biology.
Science
obscure
and biology
things.
And knowledge,
It's, like pub quiz, random factoids, that kind of just, it's fun to sit and listen to.
It's a quiz show that all of the, quote, contestants on the show are...
they're mainly comedians.
And
I love that.
So that generates a lot of very humorous answers and puns and, borderline inappropriate answers that is just incredibly entertaining.
Yeah, and the inappropriate answers just make it more fun. I mean,
right.
But I think that's the staple of British television. It's less
restrictive.
Yeah, it's less
as
restrictive.
far as content and language.
Well, and
American
it's not
TV
as taboo.
and American society is a lot more repressed. As far as what is acceptable to talk about and what's not acceptable to talk about.
They have more don't talk about stuff than we need to talk about these things. Like, you can talk about anything political, biological in many ways, on television. And that was so it's freeing to listen to that type of discussion. Whereas if, discussion panel shows here are just
and the fact that, a lot of the topics and phrases and language is more commonplace on British TV, that it's whenever, somebody says something, it's not as shocking as it would be here.
No, that's true. Now there's really good, like, what do you call it? The interviewers and stuff in American TV. I'm not dismissing people that I love to, I like to watch John Oliver and Stephen Colbert and, other
John
people
Oliver,
like that.
another Brit.
Oh, well.
But yeah, he is, American TV.
I like watching and seeing things that they come up with because, again, they're brilliant. They come up with good questions. They come up with, like, probing answers and, like, fun stuff.
Well, yeah,
that's just random.
You've got The Daily Show and you had The Colbert Report and,
And I think that's...
And we, have had shows like that. And, British TV has, similar shows, and something new that just came out with, I think we just discovered it, this last year was the MASH Report, Well, very similar to the Daily Report. That sort of,
it's very humorous news.
Look at news and things of that nature.
But they do actually impart knowledge to you at the same time as making it funny, which I think is the best way to go.
And on a very similar vein to that is Mock the Week.
Yes.
They present a lot of news stories, from around the world and,
but
a lot of British news topics.
Definitely featuring comedians.
Yes.
Because they have all
comedians that, make fun of the news that week. And
Mock the Week is available for us, as far as I know, on YouTube.
Yes.
We find it just on YouTube because
a lot of these shows, you can surf around YouTube and find, full episodes of these shows, being public television shows.
Not necessarily in order, but you can find most of them pretty recent.
Oh, yeah. You'll find a lot of sources that will upload, episodes of these shows. And that's how we discovered a lot of these. And, we watch them,
I think we started originally.
Every time we can, find them.
It's funny when you find one. Curiosity is always our staple all the time. It's like, I'm curious, what is out there in this way? Or if you watch something on YouTube and they give you a suggestion, let me check that out.
Well, and
so you go into the spiral of finding new things.
Mm-hmm.
I think we
had started QI on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of caught up on all the episodes that Hulu had and was waiting for like the new season, next season to be posted. And we waited and waited and it never showed up on Hulu. So we started looking around and started searching, YouTube for, potentially new, QI episodes, found a few here and there. And when you, as a lot of you know that, hang out on YouTube and watch videos and stuff, as you watch something of one subject, or another, you start getting recommendations for
different things
of similar stuff that are, along the same topic or same style. And you run into other shows like I said, Mock the Week, 8 out of 10 Cats.
I was going to say, did we start the spiral out when we started watching 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown?
8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown.
Because I never watched Countdown. And this apparently is a British staple.
This is 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown is a comedic variation of a show they have over there called Countdown. And it's 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown because there's another series just called 8 out of 10 Cats where they discuss
it's basically a quiz on like 8 out of 10 people do
pop culture or that. And things like that,
That's why it came out as 8 out of 10
It's the same sort of format, but they do their version of Countdown, which deals, with letters and numbers.
Kind of like, well, it's all the anagrams. They give you all a bunch of letters. You have to make the best, biggest
contestants.
Word out of anagram you can.
They get a set of random consonants and vowels and have to see what the longest word is they can make up using.
It sounds more boring explaining it than it is because it's actual comedians coming up with these words.
Yes, and some of the crazy stuff they come up with and the crazy misspellings and we've and mixed up and messed up meanings and
I've discovered so many British comedians by that show. It's about insane. I mean,
because Jimmy Carr have different contestants on. Yeah, Jimmy Carr is the host of the show.
I'm trying to think. What's Joe? What's her name?
Joe Brand?
Joe Brand.
Joe Brand.
Oh my God, hilarious. I love her to death. She's been in comedy for her whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, really, and she's got to be in her 60s. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I'm not going to make any assumptions on how old she is.
But she's a well-versed comedian.
Oh, and yeah. I mean, so many, great comedians, that show up on there that.
Yeah. So that's a good show to just check out new faces. I mean, and discovering British TV is another fun thing to do. I mean, if you want, okay. You love baking, which is a good one. So yes. Obviously we found the British Baking Show.
The Great British Baking.
Which is on Netflix, by the way. And that kind of is another one that we just adore and love watching. Mm-hmm. Even the masterclass, which you learned a lot from.
We stumbled across after watching, a couple of seasons of just regular, British Baking Show. But the master class came as sort of a separate companion series
to the series,
to the regular show. On the regular show, you've got contestants that are giving baking challenges. While on the master class, Paul Hollywood and
just forgot her name.
I'm completely drawing a blank, and I should be ashamed because she's like, a British baking legend.
The old one, they have two different people now.
Yeah, they have all new hosts. After it moved over from BBC to Channel 4.
It went from like 2 to 4 or something like that.
Mary Berry.
Yeah, Mary Berry was the original.
Yes, Mary Berry and Paul Hollywood were the original judges. Well, on the master class, Mary Berry and Paul Hollywood would take the challenge recipes that were given to the contestants and walk you through how to do them correctly.
Yeah, so they show you how to make traditional, like, breads and cakes
a lot of,
cookies and different things that I'd never even heard of.
Mm-hmm. So, because on the regular, British baking show, like I said, the contestants get the challenges and they just kind of have to figure it out as they go along. So you see a lot of different techniques and ways of doing it. But with a master class, they show you the proper way of doing it, to get it to turn out like you want it to turn out.
Mm-hmm.
And watching a lot of stuff, you pick up a lot of, great techniques and little secrets. And
it's the same thing as watching Food Network, which we used to do all the time when we had cable, as we watched the Food Network all the time to learn baking tips and cooking tips, and still love, looking up recipes from them and checking things out.
Oh, yeah.
All the time. So, I mean, beyond that.
Well, yeah, you get, for Food Network and things like that, you've got a lot of, good American chefs. You've got a lot of good British chefs.
Oh, that's true. Well, they do kind of recruit everybody.
Mm-hmm. Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, that's true. He's all over American TV now.
Oh, yeah. Big time. But
he's more restrictive.
Yeah.
Less F-bombs.
Yeah. Yeah, if you watch him on British TV, there are a lot more F-bombs and things like that just aren't allowed on American TV.
Well, this kind of started... I don't know, I guess this kind of ties into why we're called Udder Twaddle. I don't think we've ever explained that.
No, we didn't explain that last week, which we really should have.
As we've described, obviously, I'm Cowpatty and he is Cowmando, and we are cows. And I used to joke that we were cows from Cowtown, but we are no longer in that area at the moment.
Yeah, Cowtown, is basically another name for Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah.
And we used to live in Fort Worth, which is just a neighboring city here in the DFW area.
So just kind of one of those.
Which is the FW of DFW.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But it was... I don't know how to explain this. This is best without actually reading the definition.
The cow thing is where the udder comes from.
Well...
Instead of udder, U-T-T-E-R.
Instead of udder, like, absolute...
It's udder, U-D-D-E-R.
Yeah, it's U-D-D-E-R. Double D's.
Yes.
All the way across. Anyway, but the reason I originally thought of twaddle is where I was like, this is going to be us talking and being silly and just whatever we think of at the time. And if you've ever looked at the definition of twaddle, if you go by the noun, it's a trivial or foolish speech, writing, or nonsense. It's a much more used in British speak. So I thought that actually was kind of a nice nod.
It's a more common, British term.
Like, what is that
American
fellow
term.
twaddling about? Kind of thing. It means to, just talk. It's talking or writing trivially or foolishly, which I don't think we're going to be foolish, but that's entirely possible.
It has been known to happen.
There are going to be occasionally trivial things we talk about.
From time to time.
But there will be some more enlightening things to talk about. So I felt it was kind of a nod and a joke at the same time to say.
Because you never know what's going to pop up, what's going to be said.
Yes. You never know.
And what could happen
never know.
will happen. Completely random. It will vary from week to week.
Yep. Well,
but yeah, like she said, based on definition, it's mostly twaddle.
Yes, mostly twaddle. And so we
try not to take ourselves, too serious,
No, this is not supposed to be serious. In fact, we originally were thinking, hey, if we sat down and actually talked on air again like we used to, we are basically jumping into a venture that's different than what we used to. Since we used to do radio, this is a way for us just to chat and talk and refresh and research things we'd never checked out before and just have some fun. That's the whole point.
A lot of, as we, hopefully tried to explain clearly last week, just our opinions on topics and stuff we're interested in.
And things we've done this last week. Have you read any books or done any audio books this last week?
No, I've actually, been on, holiday vacation, for the Christmas and New Year's break. So I have really just kind of been hanging around the house, and
I've been mainly focusing on podcasts related to YouTube, which is because this whole thing is a linear learning experience for me. So, obviously,
the whole
if you're
YouTube thing is
interested in seeing how this whole thing develops and changes,
is very new.
Please subscribe and hit what I'm going to call the cowbell, and you'll get notifications and all that kind of stuff. And
yes, definitely, subscribe. We plan on doing this, for a while.
Yep. So it will be weekly. And we decided we would give you some visual, I'm going to call it eye candy at the same time. It's something to watch while you're listening or without listening or watching.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it eye candy.
Is that a little too... No, that's not the right word.
Well, candy seems more like a treat. This is, more like eye broccoli, eye Brussels sprouts. It's just, it, will kind of sustain you, but it may not, be,
May not, it may sustain you, but it may not be like super enticing like candy.
May not be your preference, yeah.
Yeah, last week we were playing gin.
Gin rummy, yes.
Although I did find that the definition of rummy and gin is a little different. Apparently you're supposed to just turn over the first card if you play gin instead of choosing the card that you drop down at first.
Well,
or there's just a variation.
It depends on how many players you've got. Being 2 players the way we were playing it, then yeah, 1 player, gets 11 cards and discards first. If you were playing with 3 or more, then the dealer would flip over the first card and it would start, clockwise, with
I'm just going to
the first player, to the left of the dealer.
We're playing house rules. Our house rules.
Yeah. And
barnyard rules?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yep. Barn rules. Same with, some of our sort of house rules with Uno and...
Yeah, our Uno can get a little cutthroat, but you definitely need more than 2 people.
I wouldn't say a little cutthroat. It gets a lot.
It gets pretty ugly. When we get a bunch of friends together to play Uno, okay, here's the best way to play. We're just going to describe. You got your giant deck, and you better have 2 decks, because you don't have enough cards if you don't have 2 decks. Just saying. You got to have 2 decks, shuffle them all together, dish them out, and when you start playing, and a draw 2 pops out, that passes to the next person. If that person has a draw 2, they can plop it down on top and pass that on accumulatively to the next person.
It's a common optional
rule. So that
you
person
can stack.
Gets 4. And if it goes around in the circle, it could get up to 20, 26,
it can keep getting
28.
passed on. If the next person has another draw 2 they can play, then it stacks and moves on.
Which is why you need 2 decks.
And the same goes for draw 4s.
Yes.
And when if
you draw 16,
if you're unlucky screwed enough that everyone has a draw 4, it can backfire on you and swing back around. And yeah, suddenly you're the recipient of like a draw 16. Well, in this case, it'd be a draw 12 if you've only got 4 players.
That's true.
You would play the first. No, it would end up being a 16 by the time it loops around if all 4 players, plop down.
If you think you're being smart, you're going to go, I'm going to screw the people involved. Nope, you just screwed yourself.
Nope, it can backfire, and next thing you know, you're holding half the deck in your hand, wondering what the hell just happened.
It's like, how did this happen? And then you're just laughing hysterically because it's so ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we've had friends that have played some serious games with us.
Oh, yes. We get, like I said, very, very cutthroat. And it gets taken, pretty serious at times, where we go gunning for people.
Oh, yeah. And we do love playing games. I mean, just any kind of games. Tabletop games. We play chess. We've got a couple of different chess sets.
Yeah.
We play Monopoly and just the usual
chess sets.
Games,
checkers.
Clue. I haven't tried the new Clue yet. They've got ones that are like video Clue.
They've got themed, Clue. You've got, like Harry Potter Clue. And you've got, standard Clue. And that's a lot like Trivial Pursuit. You've got...
Oh, yeah. They've got
the standard, and then you've got the
games.
80s edition, and then you've got, like, the Star Trek edition and Harry Potter edition.
They've got every possible edition of Monopoly you can think of out there.
Yeah.
I am interested...
Star Wars Monopoly, and...
Is there a version of Game of Thrones Risk? Because I would play that. It popped in my head, and I was wondering if that exists. Because I would love to take that on.
There might be. We'd have to look into that.
To find that one.
Yeah, that.
And if it doesn't, we need to make one.
Well, obviously, if it was, Risk, the map should be, of Westeros,
that would be great.
If
that doesn't exist, somebody out there better make it.
Yes.
Somebody, Kickstarter it.
License that and just
I will definitely do it. Mm-hmm.
And
well, if HBO will
we'll probably get it and play it. But yeah, all of your, traditional board games, Monopoly, Parcheesi, Sorry.
But we don't limit to just board games and stuff. That's stuff that we could film and do for this, which is what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But we do play computer games, Xbox games. We don't play as much PlayStation as we used to.
No, not as big a fan of the PlayStation. More Xbox fans.
Yeah. I keep getting told the Switch is really good, but when we bought the last Nintendo, what was it?
The Wii.
The Wii, yes. We bought the Wii and the accessories, and we hardly ever played it.
Well, played it for quite a while. And not to knock Nintendo at all.
No.
Because Nintendo
they make good stuff.
Has got some really fun games, but they're all more kid-oriented games. Granted, you've got all the Mario stuff, you've got the Zelda stuff, but you get all the little kiddie games on the Nintendo.
Well, they focused that a lot when they were doing their mobile games and their mobile platforms.
But for more of the console gaming that we do is more Gears of War,
mm-hmm.
Halo, Assassin's Creed, Doom, GTA, games like that.
Mass Effect.
Are more, upper teen to grown-up games.
Fallout for me.
Yeah, that Nintendo tries to kind of shy away from. And yeah,
I've got really into Fallout this year.
Big into Fallout.
I think it was because it was last year. It was like a year ago that Steam had a really great sale on all of their games. It was either Thanksgiving or Christmas or something.
And we
and I
picked
bought
up the
Fallout
first
1, 2, 3.
Uh-huh.
And I started playing 1. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. It's like, 2D thing. I just really wanted to play and experience the different types. And it was so cheap. I was like, I can do that now. And 2 was okay. And then I got into 3 and I was like, I love this. This is so fun. And I just kept playing, but my computer kept crashing. And I was like, I may not finish 3. But it's already to the point where 76 is out. Yeah, which I've heard is good, version. But they're having some issues here and there. But 4 is fantastic.
I believe 4 is what really jump-started the Fallout popularity. I'd heard references to like 2 and 3.
3 is the more...
I had heard a few references to 2 and 3, but 4, when it came out, it
blew up.
Everybody we knew, online was talking about it. Some of our old, War Radio friends, was talking about, Fallout 4.
From everything that people told me about Fallout 3 is the one that kind of stick in your heart. It was a great storyline. It was one of those that they loved to play to the very end. And you loved it. So when 4 came out, everybody was just super excited. And that's why it blew up, and it was still it's
that
really
is
cool. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
A big required element to a good game is a good story, backing it up.
You got to have a good story. What?
Well, and
Gears of War, for example.
I was about to say that is a big draw for Gears of War is the overall story of the game. The actual gameplay, controls, and the game engine is fantastic, but the story really kind of pulls you in.
Well, the story is good. It's well developed. It has its gut-wrenching moments, and it has its very, heartwarming moments. It's a really good, almost movie-esque storyline. Very kind of
cinematic, especially with the way, the game is put together. Between gameplay and cutscenes, it really flows smoothly from, the cinematic style of gameplay to a cutscene and then back into... the gameplay.
In like a weird mirror aspect, I think Halo in itself, Halo has a great backstory, but I don't think it really follows a steady storyline to me. I feel like it's very choppy.
Has a good backstory, and you get a lot more of that backstory if you read the novels.
Yeah, I don't want to make that much effort.
As far as getting into the games, and the game is really fun. I love playing Halo. I've replayed it 3 or 4 times, on different difficulty settings and go through it. It's a lot of fun, but it's not as fluid and smooth between
one game and another.
Well, going from gameplay to a cutscene, and back to gameplay.
Yeah, the cutscene is
the cutscene quality, is very cinematic, but gameplay, what you see as you're running around playing the game, doesn't match up with, in my opinion, the cinematic quality of the cutscene. So is
it kind of like World of Warcraft almost at times? Like there's some...
Yes.
Yeah, Warcraft, like the game versus the cutscenes. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, the earliest versions of World of Warcraft.
The early versions.
The cinematics were all,
very cinematic.
Very detailed, cinematic 3D rendered. It wasn't until... some of the stuff in Northrend, some of the Frozen Throne cutscenes, where they had switched over to using game character animation.
Yes, because they did more cinematic,
really, helped
animated,
stitch together, the feel going from gameplay,
game trailer kind
into a cinematic cutscene, and then back to gameplay.
And I like that.
Kept it, more fluid.
I like that they started making it like the game quality is almost as good as the cutscene quality. It was when it was so disjointed that you're just like, what?
Well, and in my opinion, one of the best game series for that is Mass Effect.
You haven't played Andromeda yet.
As far as the quality of the graphics, the animation, the movement, control of your characters, and actual gameplay matches the cinematics. As far as character detail, looking at the character, they look the same, in game as they do in their cutscenes, and it's really smooth and fluid. And Mass Effect is a fantastic.
That's another great storyline arc.
A very good franchise.
At least the original set, it was a replayable game every time. Good
story, yes.
Because you could change your choices. And I watched you play the first Mass Effect. And I knew what choices you made because I watched you play. And I realized how far along the storyline. And then when I played, I got to a point in the story and I realized I just killed one of the main characters that you still had. And I went, what? He's not supposed to die. What did I do?
Depending on decisions you make.
Like, oh my God, I think I'm evil. It was really funny. So
depending on, it's from, the same developers that did Knights of the Old Republic. And depending on decisions you make in the game, you can keep characters or you can end up killing the characters.
Do you have the same trend? Like, okay, when you play these games that let you make choices, and I mean, I'm the one who played Fable a lot, and I can tell you from my Fable choices.
I could never get into Fable.
Yeah, but it's sort of the same thing as Knights of the Republic as far as like the choices you make is the character's alignment.
Yeah,
very much D&D, whether you're good or bad, evil, chaotic, etc. Do you seem to fall in the same range like every game you play, or do you change it up?
It depends. I mean, if I'm trying, I can go into a game like Mass Effect, the first one.
Yeah.
I went into it with being a quote good guy in mind.
Do you have an idea of what you're going for?
I made all of the right, proper decisions, for being a quote good guy.
No, see, I almost end up right in the middle.
I may go back through and replay it and be a prick. And make the asshole decisions and just have an attitude and see where it takes me. It depends on the mood, because a lot of those games like that, you've got replayability because you can go in and you can make different decisions that can lead, to different scenes and different options. And
I guess I tend to pick things based on my mood at the time. And so I end up very close to the center, almost like a very chaotic, neutral kind of person all the way across. I mean, I was that way in Knights of the Republic. I was like right barely blue because I wanted to see what happened if I picked the bad choice. And I couldn't help it. I just was like, that's a good option. That's a good option. Oh, I've got to click on that because that sounds like such a smart ass answer. I like to.
Well, and that's the thing, is those games give you options.
I love those.
On how the story unfolds based on your decisions. There are other franchises, like we mentioned, Gears of War and Halo. There are very specific goals set for you that you have to complete, to go from one, level or scene to the next, to the next, to the next, to unfold the entire story. Similar to Assassin's Creed. Sorry, my mind just went completely
I'm looking
blank.
at you like, I know you have it in your head. I know you do. Bring it out.
But Assassin's Creed.
God, the Assassin's Creed storylines have been fantastic.
Very historically based.
Oh, but they're so fun.
But still fictional, but based in specific time frames, specific settings.
The one thing I love about that game is that it's a layered storyline, because you have the current era character person storyline and you have the past storyline,
right? And
they all kind of overlap through as you go, and I love that development.
And you've got the main story arc of that particular game, but you have subplots and sub arcs that you can choose to really try and follow, or just stick with the main story.
Right now I'm stuck on Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which I love. There's a lot of like internal past story that has a lot of development, but I'm in the back of my head, because I've played all the way up to this point, I'm sitting here wondering, exactly what's going on in the real world. Because in the real world part of Black Flag, it's like Abstergo turned into a game company and you work there and you're just sitting at a desk. And I haven't figured out if there's any further development to that at all, other than, so occasionally I'll pop out into the real world instead of the virtual world, which is the past. And I'll go walk around and try and interact with things, and I can't touch anything. I can't do anything. And I'm like, I feel like I'm stuck here.
Continue
and maybe that's on purpose
with the game. And you may have to hit, certain
I don't really want spoilers, but at the same time, I want to know what's coming
before you can unlock. That's what I'm saying, is a lot of games, even though they're really fun to play, are very linear. You don't have a lot of options. You have certain things you have to do, step by step in order.
A lot of games like that
A to B to C, to D.
Side scroller games, level this, level 2, level 3, level 4. There's straight development, and then there's explorer development, which is a whole other kind of gameplay. I mean, World of Warcraft had a little bit of that. We've played a lot of MMOs over the years, massive multiplayer online games.
Yeah.
If you didn't know, we started with
EverQuest,
and then we jumped into.
I played PlanetSide and
City Heroes.
Moved on to City Heroes, Dark Age of Camelot.
Yeah. And we played WoW when
Star
it first
Wars
came
Galaxies.
out. Oh yeah, Star Wars Galaxy. I forgot about that.
Before and after it turned to crap.
That's a whole other topic.
That was
we're not going to that.
I would have to say close to one of my giddiest moments in online gaming was whenever I got in on the beta for Star Wars Galaxies.
Oh.
That was so fantastic.
I know you were so excited.
Oh, I was. I was, very, very happy about that and had a lot of fun, playing around in the beta for it. And played the hell out of it, whenever it went live. And and then they went through, with the combat update and just screwed so many things up. They had such a great system, for skill development and character development, and then they turned around and just messed it all up.
I'd hardly played EQ2, but I know it's still out and you can still play it.
Yeah, you can still play EQ1.
Request. Yeah.
And they've turned it, more to a free to play.
I'm glad that they still keep it open, because it's sad when you see a massive multiplayer game that you liked playing, like City Heroes, just disappear and be like, well, no, we no longer offer it. It's all shut down.
Yeah.
It's like,
City Heroes had a lot of fun with it.
Have an open server somewhere that somebody can just play around with? I mean,
I wish.
Because even when consoles pass on, like the Xbox 360 stopped and it went to 1. Now you can still get backward compatible games. You can still play those. I mean, because you owned them, you can still play them.
Well, City Heroes it's not really the same thing. I mean, they shut down the servers. Now, if the company would sell off, the intellectual property, and the code and the servers, I'm sure there are probably other companies out there that
would be like, hey, we'll keep a server open.
Would pick it up, or even, community support, somebody fire off a Kickstarter to raise enough money, to start a company that could buy, the intellectual property, the server code and the game code, and update its development and bring it back. I'm sure there are enough people that would love to see it come back.
Could companies like Steam or something host a game like that? Or would that be too much?
I'm sure they probably could.
I'm just curious. Sorry, random thoughts.
I mean, for quite a while, in the early days, kind of to compete with, EverQuest, Microsoft had out Asheron's Call as their MMO. That.
Yeah.
A lot of people played it. I never really, played it and didn't get into it because I was big into EverQuest.
I think we've gone down memory lane quite a bit. And taken a left turn.
Yeah.
Originally, I was going to say the open... What was it? The open concept play now is MMOs and also games like... Minecraft is an open world sort of exploration thing in a way.
You kind of got your, just sandbox,
is another one.
Where you can run around and do whatever.
Yeah, Ark is another one, but it's more survival.
Yeah, Ark is a good survival game. We enjoy playing it. There are other franchises like Darksiders.
Oh, that's true.
Where you can have sort of different quests that you can run around and do in whatever order you want.
But just still kind of open world.
It's open world. You're in the sandbox, but you can go and take care of quest A or quest B, or you can run back around and just, clean up, trash mobs and monsters, that respawn and kind of do what you want. You still have those story elements you have to complete in order to move the story forward, but not necessarily a specific order you have to do them in.
That's very much like Assassin's Creed in its way, because you can do every single side quest out there, or you can just stick with the storyline and move on. You don't have to, Black Flag. You can
collect
repair
all
your
100
ship,
feathers, or track down and kill every Templar knight in the world,
or save all these people, or it's not necessary. You can do whatever you want, which is just the fun of gaming.
Oh yeah,
you're just doing what you want. I mean, and it's a good escape from reality and a good way to just relax. And
very, very true.
One of these days, we will sit down and film some gameplay.
Yeah,
we've discussed it and we've talked about it, and
we've discussed kicking off a Minecraft survival series of us starting fresh, spawn into a fresh new world and go through a survival series. We do
have a world we like to build things in.
We may run through some ARC stuff. We may replay, Gears of War, as we talked about.
We're still stuck in, what is it, 4? Okay, wait. Let me backtrack. We're not stuck on any of the Gears of War because we played everything.
We have completed
in
all
hardcore.
Of them. And then we go back through and play them, in hardcore, or as we like to refer it is, to it as, oh my God, why did we decide to do this mode?
Yeah, because we've been stuck on the same spot. We were stuck in the same spot on 4 for like, what, 6 months?
Well, that's because, we would play,
frustrated.
like once or, twice every couple of weeks. And then we took a couple of months off as other stuff was going on. We jumped into and started, running around in GTA 5, and doing stunt races and stuff in GTA. And then we started playing ARC, and we, went through, more Minecraft stuff and bouncing around from game to game, to game and checking out different stuff. And then we decided, 3 or 4 months later to jump back into...
Well, I think we got to the point where we replayed the same scene like 25 times.
Dying over
we died over and over and over. And in hardcore Gears, you literally, if you die, you die. There's no reviving your teammate. That's it. You're dead. So there was a lot of, we just logged in, and then bam, you're dead. Because the game decided to target you specifically, or me specifically. Okay, calm down. Are you okay, honey? Do I need to slap you? Do I need to shoot you with one of your Nerf guns?
No. But, oop, shit. That's... Wow, klutzy. Nice.
Well, that was not intended. I kind of shot my drink off the desk.
Yeah. We now have Red Bull spilt all over the floor. Lovely.
I probably should go clean that up.
Yeah. You might wanna.
Here, you can have this blaster back.
Yes.
Take it out of my hands, please.
Yes.
It's dangerous.
Before you break something.
What kind is that anyway?
That is a Boomco blaster.
Oh, okay. Those are the ones that stick to the targets.
They have the smart stick technology, that will stick to their targets. Not quite the foam blasters, of Nerf Dart Zone Busby blasters. These are more plastic, more straw-like, as people tend to refer to them as straws.
Yeah, straws. I actually had one of those hidden under my desk at work for a while.
And they fly better and more accurate than a foam Nerf dart.
No, doggy, you do not need Red Bull. Please don't. Don't drink that.
Oh my God, an over-caffeinated Oberon. Oh geez.
Oberon's a very big dog.
Yeah, he's a German Shepherd mix, and caffeinating him would
be dangerous because he's bumped me over with his 115-pound weight.
Oh yeah, he's good about
you don't need that.
Over.
Here, okay.
Well, I guess that means we should probably bring this to a close and
before we have an over-caffeinated dog around the house. Again, I'm Cowpatty.
I'm Cowmando.
And thank you for listening to UdderTwaddle.
If you enjoyed it, again, subscribe, give us a like.
Ring the cowbell. Bing, bing, bing.
Click on that cowbell to get notifications as we, post new content, new podcasts, and maybe some gameplay stuff.
Catch you guys later.
Enjoy.